We have major breaking news, a development in the shooting this morning on an ICE facility. Now we've got conflicting reports. The latest update appear to show that one person has died, and it looks like those that were shot may just be detainees and not ICE law enforcement. However, law enforcement press conference has revealed this is likely a leftist motivated terror attack on an ICE facility in Dallas. Kash Patel posting images showing a stripper clip 762 with anti-ICE actually scratched on it. I don't think engraved is the right way to describe this. Let me see if I can grab this post from Kash Patel. You can see the image right here. It looks more like he used pen just to write anti-ICE on the rounds. There does appear to be some other messaging on these rounds we can't actually see. Anti-ICE is plainly visible in this shot. This is developing. The news broke earlier this morning, but we didn't know exactly what was happening. There are rumors circulating, photos. We don't know if we can confirm these or not, but I do have statements from law enforcement at this event. Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely insane. Following the only 2 weeks out from the assassination of Charlie Kirk, we have had now, I think this is the third terror attack in 3 weeks. We had the shooting on the ABC station. This man had writings saying he was targeting the DOJ. We had numerous threats sent to ABC affiliates. Of course, the assassination of Charlie Kirk himself. And now this attack on an ICE facility just a couple of months ago. We had, I believe, 2 other ambushes on law enforcement in the Texas area. I think it's safe to say, with even the Atlantic reporting left-wing terrorism is on the rise, we are dealing with an acute and very serious problem. And I can't say that I'm surprised, because this is the cycle that we deal with. This is what happens every summer. There's an escalation. Now, my initial analyses before we get into all the breaking news, and I'll play these videos for you, is that the left is becoming increasingly desperate. It looks like the initial information we have on the assassination of Charlie Kirk was that it was left-motivated ideology aligned with the mainstream Democrat Party. And I don't say that lightly. But the shooter apparently said Charlie Kirk spread hate. In response, we saw waves of celebration on the House floor, confirming the lies, confirming the beliefs. These liberal heads, AOC, saying that Charlie Kirk was hateful. Mehdi Hassan, Ilhan Omar, the views being espoused by the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk align with those on the House floor. This needs to stop. DHS chief in Dallas says the rhetoric needs to be toned down. And just last night, Jimmy Kimmel refused once again to apologize for the statements he made. In fact, he doubled down, saying Trump got him pulled off the air because he couldn't take a joke. The reality is, advertisers and affiliates were angry with Jimmy Kimmel, concerned over the backlash. Disney was concerned of the safety of their staff after Jimmy Kimmel insinuated Charlie Kirk's assassin was a MAGA right-winger. And then we get this. Now, 3 detainees were shot. There may be actually 4 individuals in total who were shot. 1 person's reported dead. We're going to get into this, and I beg you, my friends, I understand, forgive me. But shows like this are only possible with breaking news because there are companies that are willing to stand up, support the work that we do. And though this is a very serious story, I would like to please draw your attention to a couple of the companies that are making this show possible. And with deep respect, fastgrowingtrees.com, my friends. We'll keep this one plainly and blunt because let me just be real with you for a second. I know this news is pretty brutal and it's worrying. But shows like this, as I mentioned, are only possible thanks to great sponsors like Fast Growing Trees and Beam Dream. And I want to make sure that you guys know I'm able to do this job because they want you to know that they do a job as well. Fast Growing Trees provides you with an easy way to order basically anything, fruits, trees, or otherwise. Fall is planting season, and many plants and trees actually do better when planted this time of year. But you got to know where to start. That's why you got to go to fastgrowingtrees.com. It doesn't matter if you live in the sunny South, where the air is getting chilly. Their plant experts can help you find the perfect fit for your space. They have all the plants your yard needs: fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and more. They make it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without leaving home. Actually, in all seriousness, we have, I think we have 3. We built a little frog pond. The frogs love it, but here's what we realized: the frogs don't want to be in the sun. So thanks to Fast Growing Trees, we actually got a couple of small shrubs and small trees, and they actually get pretty big, to provide shade for our little frog buddies. And now we have too many frogs. I'm not even joking. The frogs are everywhere because they had a bunch of babies, but they need the shade. So please consider going to fastgrowingtrees.com and use code Timcast to save today. Shout out. The other sponsor we have for this show is Beam Dream. Head over to shopbeam.com/Timcast to get to 35% off. I swear by this stuff. I drink it every single night. It helps you sleep. It helps your deep sleep, your REM sleep. I mean, that's what it did for me. It's got magnesium, melatonin, L-theanine, and it is a delicious cup of hot cocoa. So I destroyed the cinnamon cocoa. All I got left is the brownie batter one, but it is absolutely amazing. And every night I drink this, and my sleep score on my sleep tracker has been, yesterday it was 96. The day before it was 100. I never got a 100 before. So I recommend you guys check out Shop BEAM. It's 15 calories, no added sugar. I'm a huge fan of this stuff. I don't even need to read a script. Use promo code Timcast, shopbeam.com/Timcast, up to 35% off. I really do appreciate these companies willing to sponsor the show, especially considering we have breaking news, and this is rather serious. So we also will try and get in comments from you guys, considering the breaking nature of this story. And shout out to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club and the Rumble Morning lineup. Really do appreciate the support you guys have. I'm going to refresh the news from ABC as we are just getting these details now. Though the story broke earlier this morning, the press conference gave us a lot more information. ABC News reporting 3 detainees were shot at the Dallas Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office on Wednesday morning. Law enforcement sources told ABC News, with the FBI saying the shooting is being investigated as an act of targeted violence. In fact, even MSNBC has said this is domestic terrorism, the result of the anti-ICE rhetoric that we are getting in media. 1 victim was killed, 2 more were wounded. At a news conference, authorities would not confirm the victims were detainees, but they repeatedly said that no law enforcement officers were hurt. That could mean civilians were injured or killed. Now, there's rumors that the firing took place at a transport when people are getting off the bus. ABC News reports the shooter, who appeared to be a sniper from an elevated position, firing from a couple hundred yards away, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, ICE Director Todd Lyons told ABC News. Without describing a motive for the shooting, FBI Special Agent Joe Rothrock said, it appeared the rounds found in the suspected shooter contained messages that are anti-ICE in nature. FBI Director Kash Patel released images of recovered unspent shell casings, including one engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. You can see here on this round, this is called a stripper clip, by the way. It's a thin strip that you can you slide the rounds into. You can see right here. It looks like there may be other writing on 2 of these rounds. Perhaps on the other side of these bullets, there is also writing. But it looks like on the right side of this, we can't make it out. On the left side, I'd have to imagine that this round that says anti-ICE, they spun for the purpose of getting this photo. But I don't know. Maybe they didn't. The target was not clear, but the incident comes as ICE has been ramping up deportation efforts throughout the country, and Homeland Security officials have been warning that agents and officers from their agencies have been facing increased violence and threats. So I have this post from Kash Patel that I want to show you guys. Read his statement. Kash says, this morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing 1, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We're only miles from Prairie Land, Texas, where just 2 months ago, an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility, targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were hurt. Please pray for those injured and deceased. Now, for those that are not familiar what this is, it's called a stripper clip. and you can see that it is a metal piece you slide the rounds into. Initial reporting, I believe, is that these are 7.62 NATO rounds, or comparable to 308. We don't have all those details released for now. We do have a statement from the press conference that I would like to play for you guys, a few of these messages, and I'll play that now.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable.
We also have additional statements that I want to play for you. Jack Posobiec first, saying Human Events has told the Dallas shooter is another young man born in 1996 with an anti-ICE motive. We have, I believe, I don't know if I played this one already. We'll play this again.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
So this we know. We have this from, this is a statement. I'll just play the clip for you.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate.
Ted Cruz also made a statement. I'll pull that up in just a moment. We have this additional from MSNBC. This is actually pretty impactful. MSNBC saying this is domestic terror and it's caused by the anti-ICE rhetoric.
Division and the rhetoric is what really stood out.
Yeah, we're definitely hearing increased calls for bringing the temperature down. Just want to let us know that the video we're looking at was of a vehicle that is believed to be involved potentially, and that investigators are right now searching and combing for evidence. That building that we're now looking at from an aerial view is where we believe the shooter may have been located and firing on the ICE facility across the parking lot there. Chris, we heard mention of targeted violence, that this is being investigated as an act of targeted violence. What does that tell you?
That's a play on words. It's domestic terrorism is what the FBI would be looking at this as.
Why call it targeted violence then and not say domestic terrorism?
I can't tell you the reason why, but political violence and terrorism, you throw them into the same category. All political violence is something that is, and it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's a response to a perceived injustice by the government or a part of the government, and which is what we see playing out in front of us. So what you're seeing, this building of, domestic violent extremism or targeted violence, is in response to something. What's happening in our society? And you can, look throughout history of how these movements grow, but it's happening right now in response to ICE because of the perceived injustices. So terrorism is the tactical use of violence or threat of violence to attain a political, religious, or ideological goal. The acts are often intended to influence an audience beyond its immediate victim. So this act of violence was signaling, he wanted to die clearly, was signaling to the broader community. And because this shooter had a perceived injustice, and that may very well be the over-aggressive tactics used by ICE, the xenophobia that we've seen in recent years throughout the United States, and just or the deployment of federal troops to cities around the country. This is you will see more violence building from the left. I'll just kind of reflecting back to the 60s. The Black Panther Party grew out of the civil rights era.
Wow.
Because the Black Panther Party didn't think that the mission was complete with what Martin Luther King did, that peaceful protesting was only going to get them so far. So the Black Panther Party was created. Then that splintered off into the Black Liberation Army, which was more militant and more violent and more aggressive, directed attacks against law enforcement because they didn't think the Black Panther Party, which was more defensive in nature, was going far enough. Again, these things happen in response to a perceived injustice.
We have a statement from Ted Cruz that I want to add to this and play for you guys. And then I've got a lot to say, of course. The first thing I'll say before playing this is I hope and pray that I am wrong. But for those that have been paying attention to my show over the past several weeks, I've not I will not say that I predicted these attacks specifically, but I have pointed out that as you are exiting the civil strife phase and you're entering, I'm going to say it, civil war, because that's the words that are being plastered all over the internet right now. This is what it will begin to look like. You will wake up to news reports of isolated shootings and attacks. You will hear of these stories far away. They may not come to where you live. I hope I am wrong and this does not escalate. But I do not see right now, and I hate to bring Jimmy in this because I know a lot of people are going to criticize me for it, but it has to be said, if Jimmy Kimmel is not going to simply say the words, "I'm sorry," this country is in extreme trouble. Here's the statement from Ted Cruz.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis.
It doesn't matter. I've got a post from Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain said, yesterday I talked with Timcast about why it's essential to the health of the republic that platforms clamp down on incitement and celebration of assassination. We are not headed anywhere pretty if this continues. He is quoting Reddit lies. Redditors on the 50501 were talking about shooting ICE agents just last week. It says, American citizen violently kidnapped by ICE. The comments, people need to start blasting. Shoot first, ask later. They've pushed us to the point of violence. Sorry, Reddit censors. It's undeniable. They are more on the left with the pew-pews than you might think. Karl Marx was pro-pew-pew. This is what we are dealing with. I do not see a reality where this is going to slow down. We now have, in the period of just a couple of months, what are we dealing with? 5, 6 overt leftist terror attacks? And this is insane to me. I don't know what to even say at this point. Andy No responding to Secretary Noem. This is the second shooting attack on an ICE facility in Texas. The other one, an ambush attack in July, was allegedly committed by a North Texas Antifa cell. This is Andy No's reporting from August 10th. 3 more arrested in North Texas Antifa ICE terror attack. Shout out to Andy No in his reporting. I'll just read the initial here. He says 3 additional suspects have been arrested in connection with the alleged North Texas Antifa cell, accused of carrying out a domestic terror attack shooting in an ICE detention facility in Alvarado, bringing the total number of charged to 17. I mean, this is crazy. July 9th, 2025, from the White House. Democrats inspire vicious escalating attacks on ICE. Here's a story from NPR. Rep. McIver is indicted on federal charges related to a tussle at immigration facility. For those that are not familiar, Rep. McIver is on camera punching federal law enforcement. Fox 4 from just the other day. 6 women arraigned on charges related to an Alvarado ICE attack. This story from, again, defendants in Prairieland Detention Center attack appear in federal court. This is the escalation right before us. Andy No commenting, an Oakland Antifa trans non-binary militant who operated an extremist anarcho-communist blog has been sentenced to more than 19 years in prison for 6 domestic terrorist attacks. It's the longest sentence for an Antifa militant to date. This post is just from yesterday from Katie Davis Court. Federal police officers make several arrests outside the federal building in Eugene. Antifa terrorists and far-left extremists have been attempting to siege the building. We are not talking about people holding up signs and saying, we resist. We are talking about black-clad individuals with weapons attacking law enforcement. And now an individual from a sniper position shooting at people at an ICE facility. We don't know who's dead yet. They're saying maybe detainees, but it's not been confirmed by ICE. We need only look at the Atlantic. Left-wing terrorism is on the rise. I can't believe I made a video. It's going up at youtube.com/@TimPool and rumble.com/TimPool, breaking down the argument of where the violence truly comes from. And I need to stress this, and this is what's terrifying. It is not meaningful to any person in this country when you say far-right violence is worse than far-left. I don't care about fringe wackos that we all condemn. The conservatives in this country and the liberals condemn white supremacy. The liberals may tell you otherwise, but that's the point. I am concerned about, in the routine democratic process, according to an initial analysis, I put up a graph showing that in the past 5 years, among mainstream run-of-the-mill Trump supporters, we have around 300 or so acts of violence, mostly stemming from January 6th. It happened. It was bad. On the left, we have around 13,700, largely stemming from the George Floyd riots. More people died in the George Floyd riots than in January 6th, and those that died on January 6th were largely Trump supporters themselves. In the course of modern American politics, the mainstream liberal political view harbors many people willing to engage in violence. The shooter of Charlie Kirk, as far as we know right now, based on evidence, was motivated against Charlie Kirk's quote-unquote hate, a position espoused by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the House floor. Now, of these white supremacist attacks, Donald Trump already condemned white supremacy. Will AOC or Ilhan Omar or any of these Democrats condemn the lies and the smears against Charlie Kirk? No, they engage in it. This is what has me freaked out. Here we go. Witness says shooter yelled "Free Palestine" after firing upon Nashua County Country Club event. The left's celebration of Charlie Kirk's death. Letter to the editor. This is my fear of where we are going as a country. And for those that do not watch my show on a regular basis or have not heard me say it, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, before the assassination, I have been discussing numerous stories that have emerged in the press warning us of a civil war. Everybody knows it. Many mocked me, many did not. It's fine. I don't care what you think. I am not wrong. I hope I end up being wrong, but I am saying as of right now, where we are, specific predictions I have made, I am terrified that we've actually come to. And that is, first and foremost, that you will wake up and these news stories will be commonplace. We have bomb threats at RFK Jr.'s house, a bomb threat at a university, shooting scare in Annapolis. We have the Atlantic outright reporting that it's on the rise, but we have the killing of Charlie Kirk. We have the shooting of children, Catholic children, in Minnesota, as well as only, I believe, a year or so ago, a couple of years ago, maybe, these other trans-identified individuals shooting up Christians and conservatives. It is becoming terrifyingly commonplace. In the past couple of weeks alone, we now have 3 documented terror attacks, as well as numerous terror threats on ABC facilities. And ABC, for the love of all that is holy, in defiance of the advertisers and the affiliates who begged them to tone the volume down, brought Jimmy Kimmel back. I'm going to say this again. I just don't care anymore. To those that are coming out and they're saying, so what, Jimmy Kimmel, so what? The man went on his show and said MAGA was trying to claim the shooter was anything but one of their own, insinuating the shooter was right-aligned or a Trump supporter. And that is the narrative that liberals are still putting out as we get more terrorism. I don't want to wake up and hear another story about people being shot and killed by some crackpot liberal lunatic who is being radicalized by a mainstream media, by a fake comedy apparatus that is so psychotic, trying to make money off insulting Trump. They are radicalizing people and driving it to this point. A man shot up an ABC affiliate station. The DA in California, in this liberal jurisdiction, said his motivation likely was the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. Nexstar and Sinclair said they will not bring him back until they bring the temperature down. It needs to come down. Jimmy needs to say, I'm sorry, please stop. But he won't do it. If you take a look at his YouTube channel, what do you find? The dude gets limited views on every segment except his opening monologue, which every single one is that no matter what Trump does, he is wrong. He's a fascist. He's evil. So he opens his monologue. He cannot accept that there was a man motivated by liberal mainstream politics who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, and he blames Trump supporters and then insults Trump for not reacting properly. When the affiliates and the advertisers begged him to take it down, they said Trump did it. They blamed Trump for taking him off the air. I just can't do this. This is insane. Jimmy Kimmel came back last night. And did he say, I'm sorry? He did not. He did everything but. He doubled down and said, Trump is trying to get me fired because he can't take a joke. Because it's not just Jimmy. We are dealing with an algorithmic psychosis, where Jimmy is going to get 4 million. He got 9 million views on that monologue where he doubled down, fanning the flames. If the man just came out and said, guys, I did not mean to imply that the shooter was a Trump supporter. It was ill-timed, improperly stated, and for that, I apologize. If he just did that, the temperature would come down. But nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it. I say it all day, every day. We don't want violence. I beg and I pray. I want to just hang out, watch WPT World Poker Tour, watch some poker, order some wings, sit in my chair, maybe play some Legend of Zelda. That's the world that we want. Comfort and luxury. But we are driving headfirst into terror. And I fear it's because I know it is somewhat ironic to state, but I do blame the left. It's ironic, right? Here I am saying we got to bring down the temperature, but what does this mean and why am I saying it? Charlie Kirk died and we prayed and we gathered together and we were upset. Some people lost their jobs because they were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. When George Floyd died, a guy that they didn't even know, they burned down cities. 13,700 violent attacks. It was actually 13,609 by official reports. 30 plus deaths. Jimmy Kimmel, Politics Girl, many other prominent liberals refused to acknowledge the mainstream Democrat ideology behind the attack. And it resulted in them lying and obfuscating and fanning the flames. I beg they just stop, but they won't. They won't do it. Jimmy Kimmel couldn't help himself. He had to once again say that he was taken off the air because Trump was a baby who couldn't take, well, paraphrasing, but he said Trump is trying to get him fired because he couldn't take a joke. It was most people who were upset by this. Now, my friends, I am going to be joined by Benny Johnson in just a moment to go over all of this. He had the interview with the FCC chair. So if you're watching on YouTube, we will be moving this show over to Rumble. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. I really do appreciate everyone who is watching live. And we're going to go. I want to expand this discussion with Benny and his views. So thank you all for hanging out. And we will see you all in the next interview. It should be up at 4 p.m. at YouTube.com/Timcast. For those that want to watch on YouTube, it will be live on Rumble now. And you can watch that Let me get the URL, make sure I believe it's rumble.com/Timcast, I believe will be the proper URL. So hopefully YouTube ends the stream properly. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, so I'm going to cut it now. But thank you all so much for watching on YouTube, and we'll see you all soon.